Hello everyone. So this is next video for chapter motion. Okay. In the last video we have learned about the uniform motion and non-uniform motion. Also the nature of the distance time graph for the uniform motion and for the non-uniform motion. It is straight graph for uniform motion and curve for the non-uniform motion. Okay. Now in this particular topic we are going to learn about the next two quantities, that is speed and velocity. Okay, so let's start. Our next quantity is speed. Then what is mean by speed? It is very common quantity. We all know what is mean by speed. Okay, so speed, directly moving towards the definition, speed is nothing but the distance traveled by an object in a unit time, that is nothing but the speed. For example, if the distance traveled is of 50 meter and the time taken for that distance is of 5 seconds, so what will be the speed? So as per the definition, speed is nothing but the distance traveled in a unit time. Okay, so put the value, you will get the answer 50 meter of distance traveled in 5 seconds. So the distance traveled by an object in a unit time, the meaning of unit is 1, 5 1 the 5, 5 10 the 50. So 10 meter of distance is traveled in 1 second, that is unit time. So what is the speed? 10 meter per second. Is it clear? Meter per second. This particular meter per second in your textbook it is written like this, meter per second, it is also written like this. So it is the simple meaning, meter by second. It is in denominator having power 1. So if it goes into numerator, it becomes m dot, multiplication s, it is 1, so it becomes minus 1. So instead of writing this, it is the simple way to write down meter per second. Okay, so don't confuse with this another form to write down meter per second. So that is nothing but the simple formula, meter per second will be the SI unit for the new quantity speed. Now whether the speed is scalar quantity or vector, remember the definition. Speed is scalar or vector. What do you mean by scalar? The quantity which is completely described by the magnitude alone, called as scalar. And if it requires magnitude as well as direction, it becomes vector. So see, speed is equals to distance by time. Distance is scalar, time is also scalar. Time के लिए direction की जरूरत नहीं है. Both the quantities are scalar, that's why speed is also a scalar quantity. So speed is also a scalar quantity. Distance is scalar, time is scalar, that's why speed is also scalar quantity. So this is all about your next quantity, speed. The distance traveled by an object in a unit time. Speed is equals to distance by time, having as a unit 10 meter per second. कितना डिस्टेंस यूनिट टाइम में ट्रैवल हुआ, दैट इज नथिंग बट द स्पीड. इट इज आल्सो स्केलर क्वांटिटी. एंड टू मेजर द स्पीड इन अ व्हीकल्स वी आर हैविंग अ speedometer that gives you the what? Speed, that is distance traveled in a unit time. Nowadays it is digital, or otherwise you are having a what we can say needle to show the speed. So this is your new quantity called as speed. It is scalar quantity. Now after this particular speed, we are going to learn the next quantity called as average speed. Then what is mean by average speed? It is too simple. For example, I will tell you the example first. Okay. For example, if we are traveling from Gadchiroli to Nagpur, for example, and it is of 200 kilometer away from each other, for example 200 kilometer. Okay, so you leave the Gadchiroli at for example 8 a.m. okay, and you will be there at your destination in Nagpur, which is 200 kilometer away, at 12 noon. दोपहर के 12 बजे पहुंचे. So what will be the time taken for your particular tour? It is of 4 hours, 8 to 12. So you can easily calculate. You are having a distance, you are having a time, you can calculate the speed. Distance traveled 200 kilometer, time taken 4 hours. So your answer must be 50 kilometer per hour. 4 ones are 4, 450 is 250 kilometer in 1 hour in a unit time. So that is 50 kilometer per hour. It is your speed. Now just think about, is it a constant speed? Matlab, what is the difference between constant speed and average speed? Think about, if your speed must be 50 kilometer per hour, क्या आपने गढ़चिरौली से जैसे ही आप गाड़ी में बैठे at 8 am, you accelerate the particular vehicle, कार को एक्सेलरेट किया और वैसे के वैसे 50 के स्पीड से लेके गए for 4 hours to the नागपुर? नो, कभी स्पीड कम हुई होगी जब ट्रैफिक बढ़ गई, कभी स्पीड ज़्यादा हो गई होगी जब ट्रैफिक कम हुई, हो सकता है रास्ते में स्पीड 0 भी हो चुकी होगी जहाँ पे आप फ्रेश हो रहे होंगे. Yes or no? This is not the constant speed with which we are traveling from Gadchiroli to Nagpur. आप रुके होंगे, कभी स्पीड बढ़ी होगी, कभी स्पीड कम हुई होगी. दैट इज योर एवरेज स्पीड फॉर द पर्टिकुलर ट्रिप फ्रॉम गढ़चिरौली टू नागपुर. यस और नो? सो हम सिर्फ आंसर निकालते हैं बाय टेकिंग द आंसर ऑफ 200 किलोमीटर दैट यू हैव ट्रैवल्ड. आप रीडिंग देखते हो अपने गाड़ी में कि कितना हमने ट्रैवल किया. इट इज ऑफ 200 किलोमीटर. 8 बजे निकले थे, 12 बजे पहुंच गए, तो द टाइम टेकन विल बी 4 hours. So you calculate then your answer must be 50, but that is not a constant speed. It must be your average speed. कभी स्पीड कम हुई, कभी स्पीड बढ़ी, कभी वो 0 भी हो गई, but you have to calculate at the end that what particular distance is traveled and what will be the time taken for that. But that is nothing but your constant speed. It is considered as average speed. Is it clear? So that is why we are using the term average speed, because throughout the journey whenever we are traveling with the help of vehicles, our speed is not going to constant. That's why we'll take the next term called as average speed. Okay, so how to calculate this average speed? Then it is the simple formula. There is no need to define it. We can directly use the formula for it. Average speed is nothing but total distance traveled by total time taken. That's why you travel 200 kilometer in total time 4 hours. That will be your answer. So this is about your speed and average speed. If it is constant, use the term speed. If it is vary and at the last we will get the answer, then consider it is as a average speed. Total distance traveled by total time taken. समझ में आ रहा है? So this is about the next quantity, speed and average. Okay. Now moving towards the next quantity. That is velocity. Okay. Then what is meant by velocity? It is exactly similar to that of speed, but what will be the difference between these two, speed and velocity? This velocity is also considered as speed. If it comes along with direction, it becomes velocity, because speed is scalar. उस स्केलर क्वांटिटी को डायरेक्शन अगर जोड़ देते हो, so it becomes your velocity. What is the meaning of it? See, बड़ा सिंपल. Speed is nothing but distance by time. बट अगर डिस्टेंस को अगर हमने हेल्प दे दी डायरेक्शन की, longest path covered by an object, it is called as distance. But if it is from initial position to final position, if you provide the direction, it becomes so if you provide direction to the speed, so distance plus direction, it becomes displacement, and displacement by time, it becomes वेलोसिटी. इतना सिंपल है. अगर हम स्पीड में डिस्टेंस बाय टाइम बोलते हैं, so if this distance is provided with the particular direction from initial position to final position, so that distance becomes displacement, and now displacement by time is nothing but your velocity. What particular displacement takes place in a unit time is nothing but your velocity. So distance traveled in a unit time, speed, and displacement in a unit time, velocity. This is only the difference. मतलब एक एग्जांपल देता हूं मैं आपको, कितना सिंपल है देखो. अगर मैं कहता हूं 500 मीटर in 5 seconds, 500 meter of distance is traveled in 5 seconds, so speed becomes 100 meter per second. लेकिन यही एग्जांपल अगर मैं ऐसे बोलता हूं 500 meter of distance traveled from A to B in 5 seconds. Now I am going to provide the direction from A to B. तो ये 500 meter distance था, but इस 500 meter को मैं क्या कहूँगा? Displacement, initial position to final position. और इस बार जो 100 meter per second आया वो कौन है? Velocity. और ये कौन थी? Speed. Numerically both are same. Numerically both are same. Only the velocity having initial position to final position, displacement by time, and it is nothing but distance by time. That is only the difference between speed and velocity. Numerically both are same, but the difference is velocity having a direction, speed don't have direction. Okay. So how to define this velocity? A definition says that rate of change of displacement is called as velocity. This is the new term for you. Rate of change. This particular thing is also called as displacement of an object in a unit time, called as velocity. Rate means in a unit time. So rate of change of displacement, कितना displacement हुआ unit time में, it is nothing but your velocity. We can call it as rate of change of displacement or displacement of an object in a unit time. Both are the same thing. That is nothing but the velocity. Is it clear? Then what will be the formula then? It is too simple. Displacement by time, distance by time, speed, displacement by time, velocity. So displacement also having unit meter per second, so having unit meter per second. Now this velocity requires direction because it is displacement. Displacement is vector, time is scalar. One of the quantity is vector, means velocity requires direction. So velocity is vector quantity because displacement is vector, that's why velocity is also a vector quantity. इन दोनों में से एक भी vector रहा, so quantity becomes vector. Speed is scalar, velocity is vector. Done. What is meant by speed and velocity? The difference between these two. Okay. Good. Now, moving towards the next quantity and the last quantity for today's lecture. Average velocity. नाउ व्हाट इज मीन बाय एवरेज वेलोसिटी, आप फिर से वही सोचोगे. नाउ द टोटल डिस्प्लेसमेंट टेक्स प्लेस इन टोटल टाइम टेकन जस्ट लाइक अ स्पीड, बट नो, देयर इज नो टर्म लाइक टोटल डिस्प्लेसमेंट एंड हाफ डिस्प्लेसमेंट, ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता. व्हाट इज मीन बाय डिस्प्लेसमेंट, रिमेंबर द डेफिनेशन, shortest distance measured from initial position to final position, means if any object starts from A and ends on B, so initial position is A and final position will be B. वहाँ पे कोई तीसरा पॉइंट C नहीं डाल सकते. इनिशियल टू फाइनल, ये मिडल पॉइंट कुछ नहीं होता. इट विल ऑलवेज स्टार्ट फ्रॉम इनिशियल टू फाइनल. यस, so there is no total and half, that is always total displacement. Okay, then what is mean by average velocity? बड़ा सिंपल है. For example, A is initial point and B is final point. So you must have to know the velocity with which object starts its motion. किस वेलोसिटी के साथ ऑब्जेक्ट ने मोशन स्टार्ट की और किस वेलोसिटी पे ऑब्जेक्ट ने मोशन एंड की. ऐसे दो वेलोसिटीज अगर आपके पास है, द वेलोसिटी विथ विच ऑब्जेक्ट स्टार्ट्स इट्स मोशन, यहाँ पे जो इनिशियली जो वेलोसिटी होगी उसका नाम हम रखेंगे इनिशियल वेलोसिटी. वेलोसिटी विथ विच ऑब्जेक्ट स्टार्ट्स इट्स मोशन कॉल्ड एज इनिशियल वेलोसिटी, and the velocity with which object ends its motion is called as final velocity. जब मोशन स्टार्ट होती है तब की वेलोसिटी कितनी, इनिशियल. जब मोशन एंड हो जाती है तब वेलोसिटी कितनी, फाइनल. इज इट क्लियर? अब अपने पास दो वेलोसिटीज है, यस और नो, इनिशियल एंड फाइनल. दो नंबर का एवरेज कैसे निकालता है? इट इज टू सिंपल. व्हाट इज एवरेज वेलोसिटी? initial velocity plus final velocity by 2. Initial velocity plus final velocity by 2, and it is indicated as, initial velocity is indicated as small u and final velocity is indicated by small v. So u plus v by 2. अगर इनिशियल वेलोसिटी और फाइनल वेलोसिटी पता है, so you can calculate average velocity u plus v by 2. अगर नहीं पता इनिशियल और फाइनल, सो एवरेज वेलोसिटी भी अगर पूछी जाए तो सिंपल सा फॉर्मूला, डिस्प्लेसमेंट बाय टाइम. इज इट क्लियर? सो दिस इज ऑल अबाउट योर टॉपिक, स्पीड, एवरेज स्पीड, वेलोसिटी, एवरेज वेलोसिटी. डन. So after this we are going to solve the number of numerical based on the previous topics, that is motion, rest, distance, displacement, speed, average speed, velocity, average velocity. Hope you understand up to this. Now next period we'll start with the numericals. Thank you.